All right, this is the Chapter 8 test review. Remember, this test actually does differ from the review a little bit. It's not quite as similar as some of our past reviews and tests have been. But we start out with this first problem. It wants us to construct a dot plot, and it gives us a set of data. First off, I've got to label my line with all my numbers. And I see that my lowest number as I scan through is 12, and my highest is 23. And I want to know if I have enough tick marks to do all of that. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, 23. There's the perfect number of tick marks already on our number line. Okay? So I label it. I'm just going to label every other one so as to not have to spend as much time doing this. But you have to start out by labeling this, okay? Someone's got to be able to read your dot plot. Next, we go point by point, and we do our dots. I do X's. They're just easier for me than dots. I can get them a little quicker, a little more consistent on this Promethean board. So my first number was 20, and then 21, 14, 21 two times, right here and here, followed by 12, 18, 23, 20, 23 again, and then 12. Okay, so I make sure I've got the right amount of points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got all my points in there. Okay, all my points are in there. Now it asks me some questions about that. A lot of these you can answer right from the get-go, but others you're going to need your calculator and to find your data or to find your 5-number summary for. Okay, I know my minimum was 12. I already talked about that. I already know my maximum is 23. I use those to help form my number line, but I need the rest for my 5-number summary. Now, 2 ways to do this. You can either do it by hand, in which case you need to find the median, then our Q1 and our Q3. Okay, you would have to put the data in order and start marking stuff off on either side to get your middle number, and then do the same thing for your Q1 and Q3 for your lower half and your upper half of your data. Or you can hop over in your calculator. In your calculator, you press Stat, press Enter, and you can see I went ahead and put all this data into this list. Go ahead and save myself some time on this video. So all my data is already in list 1. If it wasn't, which it won't be on the test, you have to just type it in yourself. Next, we press Stat, arrow over to calculate in our 1 variable statistic. Now, yours will look a little different from mine, but you've seen this a lot before. Yours will have 3 options, and one of them will be listed out and say list 1. Next, it will say frequency, and that's okay. You can just leave it. And then the final thing will be calc, or calculate. Okay? This is what yours looks like right here. Okay, you need to make sure yours says list 1. Mine looks a little bit differently. I actually have to call up the list here. So I want my 1 variable statistics on list 1 and press enter. Now, yours will pull up this same exact information. We need the 5-number summary, which is right here. Min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. Okay, so Q1 was 14. My median was 20, and my Q3 was 21. Just double check that, make sure I got it all right. Okay, max 23, min 12, just like I thought. And now we're ready to keep answering some other questions. Our IQR, okay? IQR is a pretty basic calculation. It's just Q3 minus Q1. Well, in this case, that's 21 minus 14, or 7. You have to use that to then find our upper and lower fences, okay? Our lower fence, we know the equation for that is Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR, okay? Well, if I pop over in the calculator, I can do that calculation, okay? It's Q1, which was 14, minus 1.5 times our IQR of 7. What that is 3.5. And for my upper fence, it's a very similar calculation. It's Q3, which is 21, plus 1.5 times our IQR. So this part stayed the same, 1.5 times IQR. What changed was we used Q1 and minus, and then we used Q3 and plus. That's what gives us a fence below our Q1 and above our Q3. okay? Oops, gotta press enter. That that upper fence is 31.5. And before I find the mad, I go ahead and start considering this third question that says, do you have any outliers? Okay. Well, in this data set, an outlier is anything less than 3.5, less than our lower fence, or greater than 31.5, our upper fence. I looked through my data, I knew my lowest number was 12, so there's nothing on the lower side, nothing less than 3.5. And with my maximum being 23, I know there was nothing higher than 31.5, nothing on the outside of my fences, so there were no outliers. Now, on test day, this says explain your reasoning. You have to explain that reasoning that I just kind of said out loud. I can't write it all on here, I don't have room. Okay? The reasoning was there's no data point below your lower fence or above your upper fence. Okay? The last piece of the puzzle here for this first problem is quite a doozy. Okay? This is the math. There's a lot of different ways to calculate it, depending on how your teacher teaches it to you. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Okay? One way to do it is in the calculator using your lists. So I'm looking here at list 1. Okay? What I can do is arrow over to list 2 and then arrow up and actually type something in for the entirety of list 2. Okay? What I want is the absolute value. The easiest way to get there is second 0. It opens up the catalog, and because the catalog's in alphabetical order, the first thing there is absolute value. What I'm calculating is the absolute value of list 1 minus the mean of list 1. Okay? Now, there's two ways really to go about this. You can either actually call up the mean for list 1 by doing second catalog and going down to M and selecting mean of list 1 and closing off your parentheses. That will work. Okay? That's all of our different distances. That's all of our deviations, our absolute value deviations. Alternatively, instead of calling up that second mean, we already calculated it, okay? So if we look at stat over to calculate our one variable statistic, we've actually already seen the mean for list 1. Stat, calculate one variable statistics, list 1. We've seen that mean, and it was a bit of a gross looking mean with all these continuing decimals, 6-3 repeating, but for our calculations, if you just go to about 2 decimal places, it's not going to really mess your math up very much, okay? So I could call this mean 18.64 if I wanted it. X bar was 18.64. That was one way a lot of us learned how to do this, was to actually calculate that mean of list 1 first. Now, if we want to use that, we're still doing the same sort of steps. We're stat, edit. Over here in list 2, let's pretend it's not there. Let's show you the other way to calculate this. Again, you arrow up to list 2, press enter. This is the way a lot of you are going to be familiar with it. Okay, so if that last way that I just showed it confused you, or you're like, wait, that's not how we did it, then ignore it. You do it this way. We still need that absolute value. Okay, absolute value of list 1. Oops. See, even I'm prone to messing something up. I pressed enter too early. Second catalog. Absolute value of list 1. We subtract away the mean of list 1. In the first way we did this, we just calculated, let the calculator do all that calculation. The second way, we already know the mean of list 1. We wrote it down, 18.64. Press enter. We get these same distances. These are a little bit shorter because they're only 2 decimal places, but they're roughly the same distances. Okay? Our final letter was that word mean. Remember, we learned to work this backwards. We found our absolute deviations. Now we need that mean. Well, to calculate the mean, we just go stat, one variable statistics, and on your screen, remember, yours is going to look like this up here in the top right. You need to make sure this L1 is actually a L2. Okay? For me, I just have to call up list 2, press enter, and there's my MAD, my mean absolute deviation of 3.37.